for clicking on Hey Melissa Crochets. I appreciate you wanting to spend a bit of time with me today. I wanted to do another challenge for myself. If you've been watching my channel, you know how much I love to challenge myself. So I came up with this concept while I was at the farmer's market probably about a month ago. I'm filming this on July 16th or 17th, and I just started basically preparing everything yesterday. Of course, I already do have some concepts for this, but I figured it'd be a fun challenge to try more. So what I'm going to do is make only $5 items. So in my $5 bin, I usually have my fidget worms, the ones with the, the hair curlers on the inside that, you can bend and twist and fidget with. And then I also have my mini kitties, so like little tiny loaf cats. I think I get to 24 stitches with those in the round. Then I have my keychains, which have like bees. I had like some of those little whales. I'm almost out of those finally. They just don't sell. Little flowers sell a little bit for me, so I'll probably make more flowers as well. But I also wanted to find some new $5 items that would be, fun to take to this market. In order to challenge myself, I feel like I need to have everything set in advance, like the concept, not just the concept, but inventory. So for inventory, I want to have $500 to $550 worth of $5 items. So that's either 100 items or 110 items. And I think I can do it because I do want to do this market probably like late August-ish when it's not as hot as July is. So fingers crossed we can get this done. I love challenging myself, so here we go. I wrote down some talking points for myself because I filmed these intros and then I'm like, oh, I gotta refilm that because I forgot to mention this and that. So yay. I also wrote down one day only. I only want to do this one time, and then of course once everything, or if everything sells out, perfect. If it doesn't sell out, I'll take it in my $5 bin, randomly. Like I won't pack 50 of one item for the next market, but I'll pack like 2 or 3 of those items, 2 or 3 of the next item, etc. Why am I doing this? That's a good question. Mainly because I'm crazy, and I think I love challenging myself, and I want to come up with this concept. I want to do something different because, you notice at markets that, every once in a while you'll sell like a $30+ item. They don't really sell super well for me. It's like 25. It's probably like the max that people are willing to spend on a plushie in my area. And this all depends on your demographic area. I know a lot of people, their smallest price items is $15, some 10, some 8. For me, it's $5. People come up with, 5 or 6 kids and they don't want to spend $20 each, right? So it's just an affordable option, and I find those sell pretty well for me. My sweet spot does seem to be $15. And yes, I could do a $15 only market, but I want to do 5 because I'm a little crazy. And, I want it to be affordable for families, affordable for college kids, affordable for kids that get $5 out of their parents' wallet and then have like a variety of options to choose from. And I know this is going to be fun for me, so that's another reason why. Of course, the big question is, what patterns am I going to use? And that's where the fun comes in. So on my Instagram saved thingies, you save posts and stuff, you can create a playlist, or not a playlist, well, it's like a playlist. You can create a collection, I think it's called. So I have a collection of $5 ideas. And I put a little screenshot here for you of me scrolling on my iPhone. And I want to try out all of those patterns that you see there, and then kind of like I've been timing myself. I started the challenge a little bit yesterday with 2 items, so I've been timing myself because I've been trying to make 3 of them for each of these patterns. So the first one obviously going to take the most amount of time. Second one, third one, see if I can get faster at it, or see if I want to keep up with that pattern, because sometimes you work a pattern and you're like, never again. And that has happened already. But that's okay. That's just the way it goes. So the criteria for these patterns, they have to be fast to make. I want to say under 15 minutes each. That's where I really want to get it to, but honestly 20 minutes would be fine. They need to be cute, obviously. And of course, with different color yarns and stuff, you can make them cute. And they need to be worth $5 in my opinion. Like I want people to be able to pay $5 for them, or like willing to pay $5 for them. There's certain things that I look at and I'm like, I wouldn't pay $5 for that. It's just a tiny little flower type thing. So we'll see. If I do make flowers, I probably would add keychains to them first off, before I take them. So people see that, they're useful, they're keychains, they're bag charms, whatever you want to call them. And that leads to my next point. I want to have a sign and supplies at my booth this day that says, make it a keychain for an extra $1. So I will have like those little wire circle things that I order off of Temu, and some carabiners or some of those plastic clips. So that is something I really want to offer. So people will be paying either $5 or $6. I know, of course, there's going to be people saying, like, if I buy two, I'm going to get a free keychain supply. And honestly, I'm going to tell them no. It's cheap enough already, you know, so I haven't really had pushback on that, only from, like, you know, little kids, you know, being little kids and saying, like, what can I get for $1? And I'm like, nothing. This takes time. So that is where we are in this process. And when I say we, I mean me and my brain. Something I really want to do during this challenge, because everybody that watches my channel seems to love it, is include my puppy dog, Larry. He is 2 years old now, and he is an old English sheepdog, 25% poodle, so technically he's a sheepadoodle, but he's more sheepdog than poodle. And my first guy was a purebred sheepdog. So when I get him involved in challenges and, you know, stuff like that, we have this little bucket here, and he knows exactly what it is because he's a smart little cookie. And I print off just the thumbnails of the patterns that I have chosen on that little collection. So, for example, here's one. And then, of course, when I'm talking about them, I'll have them up on the screen here for you, because I'll screenshot them and put them in here. So I usually get him to pick one out of there, and then we start with all of this. That being said, of course, there are multiples of animals in here. So there was 2 pig patterns that I tried yesterday. I think there's 2 teddy bear patterns in here, and, you know, for example, stuff like that. So the days that he picks one of the items that have multiple, I want to do them all on that day so I can, like, compare them back to back. Like, I want to do 2 frogs one day, and then 5 days later do 2 other frogs, because then I'll forget. So that's another criteria I have for myself, and I think it's going to be fun. I did start yesterday, as I mentioned, so that'll be the first clip that you see from yesterday. So the next clip that you're going to see was filmed yesterday. As I mentioned, I started this challenge yesterday, and I did 2 patterns in total. So you'll see, well, 2. And then I did do some patterns this morning as well, so I'll film that in just a bit. Starting off strong on the first day, I just asked somebody over there if he wants to pick the first one, but I guess the answer is no. So I will be picking the first one. Let's pick the first one. Okay, got this one here. And it is a No So Doggy, and that is by My Universe 64. Of course, I'll have the screenshot up here for you, so you can see exactly what we're going to work on first. I think I will pick a second one, only because it is only like 2 p.m. today, and obviously I'm going to get this one done pretty fast, so let's do a second one. Okay, here's the second one. Oh, this is going to be fun. Okay, this is the second one. It's an alien keychain pattern. I don't know how big it's going to turn out with Bernat Blanket, because it looks like they used like that little small chenille velvet stuff that you get at the dollar store from Premier. I don't remember who the designer is. I'm sorry. I'll put the screenshot here. Of course, I'll credit them when I post everything online. But that will be our second one for the day. So the little pug and some aliens. So I look forward to this. I'm excited. It's now around 5 p.m. so I haven't been gone for long, but I finished one of the puppy dog. And yes, it's cute, but can you tell it's a puppy dog? I'm gonna ask my husband when he comes home, just because I've been looking at it for so long. So on camera, I'm like, oh yeah, it does look like a puppy dog. But when I hold it like this, I'm like, does it? So super cute. This is Bernat Old Formula, and you know how I feel about that. Hurts my wrist very much, so I put my wrist brace on as I was working on it, and just hate the old formula. It's just not nice for amigurumi. For sweaters, not so bad, but that was my mistake. I started with it, I'm like, here we go. So that's the first one I tried. I forgot to say how long it took me. It took me 30 minutes and 8 seconds. So 30 minutes, 8 seconds. I think if I did it again, obviously it would take me a lot less time, maybe around 20 minutes, now that I can, you know, see the whole 4 bobbles for the feet, and then the 2 like little nose bobbles. I think maybe next time I would skip these 2 and like embroider a nose. Maybe that would just look better in my opinion. I mean, I did wind a strand of the brown through the 2 bobbles, just because the bobbles are back to back, and like it just looks like one big bobble. But on her thumbnail, as you can see here, they look like more separated. But again, Bernat Old Formula, so he's pretty cute. I do like him. I don't know if I would make him again though, especially not for a $5 item. For this, I would probably charge 10. possibly 15, depending on the yarn, but not for $5. And now for the amazing alien pattern. It was so much fun to make. I really like this one. I don't think I would charge $5 for him, but I would say 12, 10, 15-ish. I like to work in increments of 5, so either $10 or $15. So the first one I made was my least favorite one. So this is following the pattern directly, no modifications, nothing. I do embroidered eyes because I don't use felt. It's my least favorite because of the fluffy flex yarn. This is that new loops and thread yarn. I just hate it. I've worked with it once before. I made like one of the mini kitties and the white rainbow fleck one, but it drags on itself and it just sucks. It reminds me a lot of the Bernat Old formula, just a little bit thinner, but it still sucks. And then of course the fluffy flecks around it are like another strand woven into it, and that catches all the time when you're putting your hook through the stitches. So nothing to do with the pattern at all. The pattern was really fun to work up. I will say I do hate doing teeny tiny rounds. I think when you're doing the legs it's like 5 stitches around, so hard pass. That really hurt my wrist as well. I think if I did it with a different yarn, it wouldn't be so bad. So this one here took me 23 minutes and 6 seconds. That's the longest, and I did him with an 8mm hook. And then the second one that I made, I changed up the pattern, and I like it just as much. It was a lot easier to make on my wrists and just time-wise. So this one took 18 minutes and 43 seconds. So you can see I changed the legs. Basically, I did, I think I did 9 stitches, and then I single crocheted back up. And I did add 1 extra row to the body just to decrease it a bit so it didn't look too square. But I think it still looks like the alien. I'll hold all 3 of them up for you in a second. So this one took 18 minutes 43 seconds. This is a 7mm hook, and that's Bernat Blanket Sparkle. And then my favorite one, mainly because of the yarn, I love this yarn so much, is either Loops and Thread Sweet Snuggles or Loops and Thread Sweet Chenille, or whatever you call it, Chenille Home, whatever, the thicker one. I love this guy. I gave him like a little nose as well on this one, or a mouth, whatever you want to say. So I did the same as that last one with the chained legs instead, and he took me 15 minutes and 10 seconds. And I say that is because this yarn is just so easy to work with. Like, it glides so smoothly. I never have any issues with it, you know, catching on itself or rubbing against itself. It's just so smooth and so nice to work with. So eventually someday when I run out of blanket yarn, I will definitely be switching to this type of yarn. I would definitely make this pattern again, like doing the legs how I did them. And it was easy to follow. The text on the screen is a little bit small, but I have my tablet, and unfortunately on the Instagram app on my tablet I can't zoom in. Basically it just goes right back to the original size, so I have to screenshot it and then expand it and then work it, but that's okay. Here's all 3 of them together. So this one was first, and then the pink, and then the blue. So I really don't think changing the legs took away from the alienness of it all. I think it still looks cute. Yeah, it looks great with like these legs, but my wrist can't handle that. So if you do make it, keep it in mind. If you don't like small, you know, rounds like that, keep that in mind. But if you don't mind small rounds, go right ahead. And I think with the velvet chenille yarn, yes, this would work really well for the keychain pattern that it was originally intended for. All in all, I definitely recommend this pattern if you're looking for like a small, quick market make, especially when you get the, you know, pattern memorized. I think you're good to go, and I think these would be good to batch crochet as well. So I finished 2 more patterns last night. I figured why not, and I had some of the yarn called Raspberry Kisses, and Anna at MelissaCrochets always says it looks like raw bacon and when it's worked up, and she's not wrong. So here it is in the skein. So obviously I haven't put this into a cake yet like I always do. So that's what it looks like, but when it's worked up, it looks like raw bacon, and it really does. So this is the first pattern. I will say, before we start talking about it, I did not do the whole pattern the way I was supposed to. You're supposed to get up to 30 stitches, but since I want to do $5 items, I was like, 30 stitches is pretty round and big. I don't want to sell that for $5. So I got up to 24 stitches, which is the same size I do my mini kitties. So basically the size of your palm. And of course that does make the dimensions a little bit wonky. So keep that in mind. So this is Chunky Piggy, and he's such a cute little pattern. He is by Tang Crochets. I have my notebook, and I have been putting all of the little thumbnails with the patterns to keep myself organized here. So this is the first one here, Chunky Piggy by Tang Crochets. And I did this one with an 8mm hook, and it took me 18 minutes and 56 seconds. Again, that's the first one. He's pretty cute. I do like him. I'll tell you some more thoughts in a second. And then this one here took me 14 minutes and 10 seconds, and he was with a 7mm hook, so he is a little bit smaller. All in all, it was a very easy pattern to understand. It's basically like a little loaf pig, in my opinion. And the first one, I didn't get the tail to curl the way I wanted it to. I have such a hard time with getting Bernat blanket yarn to curl. That's why I hate making the tentacles and the jellyfish. But this one worked out a bit better because I modified the tail. So I did this one second, as I said. So instead of doing increases of single crochet in every stitch back, and then it just didn't curl enough for me, in my opinion. So I ended up doing increase, so 2, and then the next one I did 3 stitches in 1, and then 2, and then 3, so alternate. And then I find it gets a little bit curlier. And I do that with my my jellyfish tentacles as well. So all in all, it is a great pattern. It is well made, well thought of, but in my area, where I take my animals and plushies to is a farmer's market. And I live in a very rural area, so people know that these aren't pig's ears. Pig's ears are supposed to, like, they flop down like a dog, basically. So they would be more so like flop down. So I would modify the ears if I made this again. But do I think it's a good $5 item? I will say yes, but I would do some more modifications to the pattern if I wanted to go through with it. So I'm going to decide after I make all these little patterns and test them out which ones will be going forward for my $5 items, and then decide on further modifications from there. So you may remember the rule for myself is if I pull, you know, pull an animal that has multiples, I have to do both of them the same day. So here's another piggy pattern. This one's just called Piggy, and it's by Hook Crochet Co. Here is the little thumbnail. The thumbnail is pretty cute, isn't it? I love the colors she chose in that one. So this guy was done with a 7mm hook, and he took me 25 minutes. So this one I will not offer for $5. It is a really cute concept. I think if I made this, I would sell him for 10 or 15. And he's a pretty fast make, like 25 minutes. So if I did it again, obviously I'd get it down a lot further. I did think about not doing the muzzle. So basically you make a little chained muzzle. I did surface crochet this. I did, I think 10 stitches around. And then I just kind of whip stitched it together rather than doing a chain and then sewing it on. Because I just hate sewing on chains. Ain't nobody got time for that. So I do like this guy. I would make his ears different, just like I would the other one. So they were like, you know, down, because that to me looks more like a piggy. People would see that more as a pig rather than cat ears. These look like cat ears to me. So I really like the way this guy turned out. He's super cute. I would definitely add this to like my market setup if I were doing more. The ears are surface crocheted in. You know, I should have, you know, kind of surface crocheted them, you know, down more. But to that being said, I didn't want to modify the pattern in any way for the first make. That was just kind of the concept I was sticking with. So keep that in mind. So you could easily make them look like real piggy ears. I'm just not going to do more of this pattern at this time for the $5 challenge. So that's my honest review of Hook Crochet Co. Piggy. Larry is now awake for the day, so if you hear his big footsteps in the background, FYI. So I wanted to do some this morning while he was sleeping in. I'm an early bird. I'm usually up around 5 or 6. And, you know, I come down here and do my video editing in the morning, and Larry usually gets up between 10 and noon. So I had time this morning. So there was one stingray pattern that I had seen somebody else doing. Like I seen a reel on Instagram, I guess. I was going to say a marketplace, but no, on Instagram. And it was a stingray pattern done in the round. So I had to search and search and search for it, but I found it, I believe. At least I found one that's done in the round. And I believe it's two sisters. They're out of Quebec here in Canada, and they're called Chez du Coton. I did 3 stingrays in total. I did not make any modifications on any of them. It was a really fun pattern to work up. So the first one that I did is this one here. And sorry, it's hard to see with the way I'm holding it. So there's the stingray. The underside is white. So this one took me 16 minutes and 6 seconds. I have my notebook down here in case you're wondering. So 16 minutes and 6 seconds for this one. I love this one. It's so cute. They all turned out really cute. And that was done with an 8mm hook for the top. And then the bottom I did 7mm just because the white that I have, both brunette blanket, is just a bit thinner. So I switched to 7mm for the bottom. And then this one here is done in teal wave. Such a nice color. I love this one so much. I'm so sad they discontinued this color. It's just so pretty, especially for amigurumi. And then I did everything for this one in 7mm. And then the third one I did with just a nice blue. I can't remember what blue this is called. It might be called Faded Blue, so I don't remember. And then I did this one with an 8mm hook, except for the bottom again was 7mm. And this one only took me 7 minutes and 43 seconds. And I believe that these will be really, really good to batch crochet. So you could do the tops and then come back with the bottoms. So the first one that I did, which was the blue dot one, you can see here, basically I just continued and then did like you do like a round of like back loop only for the decreases and like the bottom of the body. So I just kind of like just kept going with it. I didn't fasten off or anything. I didn't like the way it turned out because, I mean, it is noticeable. Maybe not to somebody who doesn't crochet, but I think it's noticeable. So for the other two, so for the second and the third one, what I ended up doing is I fastened off the top color and then basically, so you fasten that off and then I just chose a random stitch, I think over here, and then I started the underside because you attach the white yarn. So I figured, you know, that was a lot easier and it wasn't as noticeable. So I ended up doing for that for the second and third one, and I think that worked out a lot better. So if I were to make these again, and I believe that I will add these to my $5 list, I would do the exact same thing. So batch crochet at the tops and then go in and add white for all the bottoms. So this is a great $5 item in my opinion. I really like the way they turn out. I like how fast they are. You can get these done in under 10 minutes. With no distractions, of course. And then the pattern was really easy to memorize. So definitely go find this one on Instagram. Thank you so much to the creators, the designers. I believe they're two sisters that do this. And thank you so much. I really appreciate the free pattern and I recommend this to anybody who's looking to add a smaller item. The last one that I did this morning, it was like a one-off item, so I just kind of chose it off Instagram rather than pulling out the little thing from the bucket. I figured, you know, I want to give it a try, and I'm glad I did because this is definitely a $5 item. And these are little pocket jellyfish, I think she calls them. So I did one with safety eyes, and I did two without because I want to embroider them, because I think a lot of people buy these for babies because of little tentacles. I did have to modify it a little bit because I don't use velvet yarn. The original pattern uses velvet yarn, and then you cinch it off with like a lighter at the bottom so they don't like fluff out. But basically what I did is I did 12 chains and then I slip stitch back to the bottom. Then I did 14 chains and then repeat. So technically I did 4 chains, 12, 14, 12, 14. And I did that with all of these. So this was really fast to do. I started all of them out with a 7mm hook for the body. And then there's 2 rows where she says to very loosely crochet the next row. And then after that you do loosely crocheted again, but a row of slip stitches. So started with 7, and then when you went to the loose part, I switched to an 8. So these are a definite yes for my $5 initiative, and they're fast to make, they're super quick, they're super cute, and I think they would make a good keychain as well if people want to add the keychain to these. Okay, you move the concept. You ready to pick one? Okay, you pick one. You go ahead and pick one of these. You used to love doing this, you know. Can you please pick one? Thank you. I can pick 2. Okay, well, we'll see. We're probably going to do 2 today anyway. Thank you very much. Go for it. The first one that Larry picked is a bee. It's like a sitting bee, which is cute. And this adorable little chickie. But it is mentioned that it's a duck. I wrote on the back a duck. So we're going to make a little white duck instead of a yellow. Okay, so the first one I made was this adorable bee. The pattern is by MelissaCrochets. And it's a really good pattern. It's so cute, adorable. It was easy to make, easy to understand. But it's not a $5 item. So I'm only going to make the one. I used an 8mm hook with this little guy, and I love the way it turned out. Of course, you have the option to not add a smile or whatever, but I wanted to add a smile, so cute. 29 minutes and 1 second, so not a $5 item, and the size, not a $5 item. Of course, if I would have made him with like a smaller hook, he would have been smaller, but what can you do? The only thing I modified was surface crocheting the antennas on. She wanted you to make like the antennas separate and then sew them in, but I was like, I'm just gonna surface crochet them. The next one I did is the little baby duck or chick. You can make any color bird really, by Steph.Crochets. Here is the screenshot, of course. And the first one I did took me 15 minutes and 47 seconds. That was 7 millimeters, and I did no modifications. The next ones I did modifications, because this picture here is how it looked without modifications. You start with 6, and then it just got the stupid little dome up top, so, or cone, I guess people call it. So the next ones I did differently. So to fix that, what I usually end up doing is I leave a long tail at the end, and then I go back up through, and I kind of like tack it down. Hard to see on camera, but I just tack it down, and it works out well that way. I still need to embroider eyes on the second one, and he took 11 minutes and 47 seconds. For this one, I modified row 1. I started with 10, and I then went up to 20, plus there was 2 stitches where I did an increase of 3, so I get to 24. So he's just so cute and adorable. And then my last white one that I did, I modified him even further, and I started with 8, went to 16, then went to 24, and then that's all the increases and stuff. And that was my favorite. I think 8, 16, 24 worked out nicely, just for the shape of like a burb, little blobby bird. So I love them, they're so cute. This one took me 13 minutes and 30 seconds. And I wrote down that it's because, one, I had to like dig out my safety eyes. I forgot them inside, and then I forgot to stop my timer. So, you know, add a few minutes there. And then while I was sitting there, I was like, I'm not gonna go back inside for more yarn right now. I'm gonna make another one. So I just reversed the colors. And honestly, if I would have made a little mustache for him, he would have came out looking like the Lorax, which is one of my absolute favorite movies and stories. So tempted to make one a Lorax at some point. I've seen patterns for him, so I should. So here's the 4 birds from this afternoon. It's currently only 3 p.m., so I probably will knock out another pattern or 2 today, just to, you know, hurry up the process so I can start batch making things eventually. I don't think Larry's going to be much help with picking this next one because he is fast asleep right behind the camera over there. So I will just pick one from my little collection. That'll be a surprise as to what is shown next. So it's about 1 hour later. Again, I feel like we did this yesterday, and we did. So I wanted to do this pattern. I've been looking forward to this one because it's just so cute. It's by MelissaCrochets, and it's a flower baby. Isn't it cute? So you start with the flower, like the center, and then you do the petals on front loop only, and then you move to back loop only, and then you make this little body. It's so cute. So the first one, I forgot to press the timer, so I'm assuming around 16-ish minutes, because I remembered 4 minutes into it-ish, I want to say. So what I have written down is 12 minutes and 10 seconds. Add 4 minutes, that's 16 minutes and 10 seconds. And then this little cutie took me 16 minutes and 15 seconds. So 8 millimeter hook, 7 millimeter hook. You can see the difference in the body size. Not so much up top, well, a little bit, I guess. Yeah, so you can see the difference, the size difference. And then the third one, I did shave some time off. With an 8 millimeter hook, it's 15 minutes and 47 seconds. So these are just so cute. I love them so much. I could definitely make more of these. That being said, because they're so cute, I think people would pay $10 for these. Even though they're small, I still think people would pay $10 for them. New day, new dress, new pattern. This pattern is called Axolotl Keychain, and of course you make it with smaller yarn. It's going to come out smaller, but I'm using Bernat Blanket. So here's the first one. It is super cute. Yeah, I did this one first, because the other 2 I modified. So it's pretty cool. She has you, like it's no-sew. So when you're adding the gills, she has you switch colors and do it that way. So that was really convenient and quite nice. So it turns out really, really adorable. Even with Bernat Blanket, still a good size. I think it's a great $5 item. So if I find, I didn't really love making them. They're great to make, and they're fast and easy, but I don't know, I just didn't really like making them. So I did this one with no modifications, and that took 18 minutes and 15 seconds. And then the second one I made, like a Halloween one, I surface crocheted the gills on, so they are different. I did chains. That's what I do for my regular axolotls as well. And then the tail is always surface crocheted. And this one took me 17 minutes and 43 seconds. Here's the third one. He took me 15 minutes and 17 seconds. I think these would be really easy to batch crochet, do the bodies, and then just go stuff them, and then eventually you're adding the tails and the gills. So easy to batch crochet. I would sell these for $5. But as I said, I just really don't enjoy making them. So I'll add them and like keep them in this collection, but I just don't know if they're gonna be one of my final things that I'm making for the $5 a day. We'll see. So you won't see any more of Larry in this video, maybe, like picking out patterns. I dropped him off at daycare this morning for 3 nights, 4 days. He's just been acting like a total a-hole for the past, I think, since Tuesday. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. For 3 days, he's been acting like a total a-hole. And he gets in these moods probably every 2 months-ish, I want to say. So then I know it's time to ship him off to daycare. We can run out his energy and just be an a-hole over there. And it comes a time. So it happens every once in a while. So I said to my husband, I was like, I know money's tight for me, but he's like, oh, I'll pay to send him. You know, he's driving you crazy, he's driving me crazy. So Larry's there until Sunday. Today is Thursday. So he's there. And yeah, so I'm just going to continue to pick patterns on my own. So I haven't picked a new pattern to work on today. What did I work on last night? I think you've already seen what I worked on yesterday. So the last one was the little keychain axolotls. But what I have been working on in the meantime, just, sitting on the couch, and, these are easy to make while I was watching Big Brother last night. So I've been making some bees. So I have all the bodies finished. I have my yarn here so I can embroider the eyes. And then I have some white yarn to do the wings. So while I'm watching Jeopardy and Big Brother tonight, I'll embroider the eyes on at least. Maybe I'll get some wings done. I don't know yet, but I just figured I'd add these into the pile. I already sell these for $5. Most of them are already on keychains, but for the $5 initiative that I want to do, of course I'm not going to put keychains on these. People can add them for the extra $1. So that's my plan for this evening, and then tomorrow we will work on some more new patterns. Good morning. I was able to finish up those bees last night. I did the eye embroidery, I think, mainly through Jeopardy, a little bit during Big Brother, and then during Big Brother I also put some of the wings on, and then I stayed up a little bit later than normal because Larry's at daycare, so might as well, and I finished all the wings. So when I show you the colors, you're going to be like, oh, I haven't seen those blanket colors before, but I was smart, and I chopped up one of these cakes, and this is one of the new Bernat blanket patchworks. I think this one's called Citrus. I'll put a screenshot up here for you. If I'm wrong, if I'm right, I'll still put it up there. And I basically just deconstructed one of these, and it's a really nice color. I do have like all the blue left because I wasn't gonna put that into bees. I just don't think it would be a good color, like the blue for bees. So basically I used every other color except for the blue. I'm not gonna hold them up one by one, but I'm gonna do like color by color. I have 8 yellow bees, 5 green bees. I really like this color green. It's like a neon green, and it turned out really cool. So that's 5 of those. 3 highlighter bees, because I don't know what color to call this. It's like a neon color again, so it reminds me of like a highlighter. It is a really cool color. This was not there wasn't a whole lot of it in the skein. And then it also went into this color, which I forgot to show you. So I didn't use the blue for the bees or like this really pale, weird color. I don't know what it is, but I didn't think that'd make nice bees. It's just, ugh. So I'll save it for something else though. And there was quite a bit of that color, and then morphed into this color, and then it went to like the neon green. So 3 highlighter bees, 1 orange bee, because there really isn't a lot of orange in these cakes. You can see like a little bit in the center there, but there really isn't much. So 1 orange bee. And that's where I ran out on this skein or cake or whatever. So I went with different shades. So from a Bernat blanket perfect phasing ombre, I grabbed the center purple and then a scrap of this, and I made a little zombie bee, or zombie, I guess. So this is like the first wing I think I had put on, and I didn't like the way the pattern I was using called for. I usually use the same pattern over and over again. So the bee pattern I like is by Coffee and Crochet 01. This is the bee pattern I always use, but I did end up going with different wings. The wings I ended up using were from this pattern. I used this pattern when I did my 25 charity plushies for our local police precinct. So I used the wings from that, and they're just bigger. So that's what I used on all the other ones. So you can see they're just much bigger, and I like them more. But either way, so cute. So one purple bee. And then I pulled out my Loops and Threads Fluffy Flex. I hate that yarn so much. I'm so glad I only have one skein of each. I have 4 skeins in total. I will use them, but I hate them because it just drags on itself and it sucks. So one white bee with green wings. And then I grabbed the color Peachy, which is right behind me there. You can see it. And that's Bernat Baby Blanket. I haven't tried that until I bought it recently. And it's such a cute color. I love it so much. So that's 5 peachy bees. So if you kept count, good for you, because I didn't. But when I'm editing, I'll figure out what it is and I'll put the number here. On my $5 collection thingy on Instagram, I had 4 octopus patterns saved because I wanted to find like a little pocket octo. They're pretty common, you know what I'm talking about. So I had a pattern from All From Jade, Crochet with Mimi, Crochet with Casey, and Crochet by Fossy. Let's go over them because I have thoughts about all of them. Okay, so the first one I did was the Octos All From Jade. And the first one, this one here, took me 14 minutes and 46 seconds. I have my notebook down here in case you're wondering why I'm looking there. And I do like the bobble tentacles. I think out of all the tentacles, this was one of my favorites. And the second one, I shaved off 6 seconds and it was 14 minutes and 40 seconds. I do like the structure of it. Like I like that they can like sit like that and just, you know, sit on the table and be cute. But my issue is that everybody makes these. And I don't want to, you know, step on anybody's toes. And I've already talked to my market friend, Lori, hi Lori, about, you know, like stepping on her toes. I don't want to offer anything she offers, especially during my $5 day. She keeps telling me, don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, but I'm going to worry about it because I don't want to be rude. Okay, so the second one was Crochet with Mimi. I planned to make 3, but I only made 1 because I don't think I can sell these for $5. As cute as they are, and they're adorable, they'd be great for keychains, even with Bernat Blanket. This is Bernat Blanket. So if you made this with like really thin, like velvet, whatever you guys use, chenille, premier, whatever yarn, then perfect for keychains. So that's Crochet with Mimi. So of course the screenshot's up here already for you, but it's so cute. Like I just love the way it works out and adorable. Next up is the pattern from Crochet with Casey. And the first one took me 15 minutes and 10 seconds. But I like the way these tentacles are worked up. They're really cute and they work up like into like a curl, which I think is really fun for like an octo. So basically you chain 4 and then you increase back down and slip stitch, etc. So I like the way this one turned out. So that one was 15 minutes and 10 seconds. And then the second one was 13 minutes and 31 seconds. I put eyes on this one. And I like it in the variegated because like it stripes so well and pretty cool. So cute. I just realized I forgot to talk about the hook sizes for all these, so I'll just put it on the screen here for you. So it'll be in that little text box. But I really like the tentacles on this one. I also like the tentacles on the bobbles from the Jade's pattern, but I think this one might be my favorite octo out of all of them. And then the last one that I did was Crochet by Fossy, F-O-S-I, so it might be Fossy. I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. Okay, the first one I did was 11 minutes and 20 seconds, and this was probably like one of the, this was the fastest pattern out of the 3, besides this one, of course. That one was like 7 minutes. But the tentacles to me aren't screaming like octopus or squid or jellyfish. So like it's done in chains. So the body's basically the same as the other ones I've shown you. But the tentacles are done in chains. And then when you set it down, you don't see them enough. So I'm not a huge fan of this pattern, although I like how fast it was. It was 11 minutes and 20 seconds. And then the second one I did on a larger yarn. It's the Mainstays from Walmart Velvet, which I'm pretty sure is exactly the same as Sweet Snuggles from Michael's Loops and Threads. And I did a chain of 6 instead of 4 like the other one. So I think it did turn out a bit better. You can see it a lot more when it's sitting. But again, don't really like this as an octo. Not really. I think this yarn would be cool with bobble stitches, and then it would sit elevated even more. And then I gave him some sparkle eyes just to elevate him up a little bit. So that's all my thoughts on the octos. I feel like each of these probably would sell for $5. So I think all of these, honestly, I could sell for $5. I'm not saying I really want to. I think I will revisit these and see, once I'm done testing all these patterns that I have saved, if this is something that I would add to my $5 day. So this is a maybe. Also, I'm curious if anybody out there has recommendations. I like to work with the plastic yarn needles, but this yarn, the velvet, the big fluffy stuff, snapped my needle today. And I have extra, of course. But I'm wondering if anybody has recommendations for metal. And I like the size specifically of this one. This is the largest one that I have. It is 3.5 inches. So if anybody has recommendation for a metal darning / yarn needle, please let me know. I would appreciate it because I've looked online, but like you don't know from like reviews if they're fake, if they're real. I really don't like the aluminum ones with like the little fishing wire type of thing because I snap those all the time too. So that's why I turned to these ones, but it's not going to keep working with this yarn if I keep using this yarn. So if anybody has recommendations, please let me know the brand name and I would love to look into it. It's been a few days since I finished up all those octos, and I have done a bunch of patterns since. But editing Melissa here, I just edited a lot of that video and it's already over an hour, so I'm going to break it down. Next week you will see more patterns because as of right now, I have a whole bunch more finished and filmed and edited, but I created a compound clip, which basically means you take all of those different pieces of that editing frame and make it all into one. So next week I'm going to start with that and then do the other patterns that I still have to do because I'm doing 30 in total. If you've kept count, good job, because I haven't. But looking at my $5 Save collection, I still have quite a few more to go. I think around 9 as of this point, like today. So yay. So I never meant to do part 1 and part 2 of the pattern part, but you know what? I still want to keep all of my thoughts in there and stuff. You guys seem to like that when you comment and say like, thanks for your honest reviews. I appreciate you taking time to talk about the details. Because, you know, a lot of people say, hey, I like this pattern. Hey, I don't like this pattern. And I've noticed that too on YouTube. So I want to do a part 2. So that's what you're going to have to wait for next week. And then I will make this into a whole series, like a playlist here on YouTube. So part 1 and 2 of the patterns. Part 3 should be like batch crocheting all these things. That might be a part 2. I don't know. Depends on my detail and stuff. And then, of course, I want to do a market setup, like a mock setup, whatever, in the carport again. And then, of course, a market day recap eventually once we get there at the end of August. It is currently July 20th today. It's a Sunday, July 20th, I believe. So that's where we're going to end this video. Hope you look forward to more of these $5 ideas next week. I have found a few more that are not in this part 1, but it's going to be good. So thank you so much for watching. Please remember that you are strong, you are beautiful, you are loved, and the world appreciates having you here.